Yeah, you seem.
Okay. Welcome to the EJ's emergency space and rocket review. I usually don't do my space news segments on Fridays, but it is Friday, October 25th, 2024. We usually do that on Flame Trench, which should be happening very soon here. But there's some uh, very poignant news that I thought warrants some discussion. Don't worry, it's not like nothing crazy. Nothing crazy has happened here. But yeah, this is not the best news, and I figured it warranted some kind of discussion. So, hello everybody, I'm EJ, your host. Do we have a good acquisition of signal over there? We're 5x5 on YouTube. Twitch is good. Okay. So I have the link creeper. Thank you very much. Once again, thank you for LP Creeper, if you were in chat on the Twitch side of things, for getting me all those links. Creeper, I do appreciate it. You've been really helping me out lately. Thank you very much. how to get poignant. Okay, so the gist of it, once again, we don't have much time. This space news is going to be absurdly short, probably like 30 minutes at best. Is this to help you gather your thoughts for the flame trench? I don't even know if they want to discuss this, Bran. I will, though. So, I was playing Satisfactory a little bit earlier today, and a lot of viewers came into chat and kept saying, telling me some crazy news. And the crazy news is that there is whispers out there. So once again, not trying to like oversell this, but even whispers are a big deal. Like there are whispers around that Boeing wants to sell all of its commercial space ventures. And yeah, that's not. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I started hearing whispers of this from links in chat, right? This is from Micah Maidenberg with the Wall Street Journal. Micah shows up to the press conferences a lot, and once again, news with Sharon Turlep, Wall Street Journal consumer products reporter. Boeing explores sale of its NASA business, including Starliner vehicle and space station operations. In case you didn't know, Boeing does handle operating the ISS for NASA. Yeah, NASA likes outsourcing a lot. The effort, part of a strategy by Boeing's new CEO to streamline the company and stem losses, is at an early stage. So, okay, here's the thing. Don't be like, oh no, don't hit the panic button just yet. But I've heard whispers that it might be everything, it might not be everything. I've heard it's just Starliner and the space station, maybe not SLS. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. A viewer did say that there was a CNBC. Like, dude, I'm like kind of learning as you learn here. A viewer did tell me that there was a CNBC meeting with Kelly Ortberg, the CEO of Boeing, and I kind of just genuinely curious what he had to say. Hold on. Kelly Ortberg is the new CEO of Boeing, and he was on a real attack that I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, here it is. At least there's a bunch of clips from the interview. Let's see. All right, let's listen.
Silver bullet. This isn't going to be fixed in one fell swoop. We've got a lot of issues here that we're dealing with. The first thing we've got to do is stabilize the business, and obviously getting through the IAM strike is the first big step in doing that. But then we've also got to shore up our balance sheet so that we have a solid balance sheet to manage the realities of our business going forward. I think from a longer-term perspective, getting focused on executing on these development programs is critical for our company, and then underlying all that is culture change. And we're off doing that. We're reevaluating the values in the company, and we really need to embark on a culture change that is something more than just a poster on the wall. It's really going to guide how the company behaves day in, day out.
You're sitting on about $10 billion in liquidity right now at the end of the third quarter. You've got this machinist vote happening today. How critical is it to your bottom line that you get a deal locked in if not today, but very quickly with the machinists, or else it forces you guys into some tougher choices?
Well, I think we've got a good liquidity plan, irrespective of the near-term outcome here. So I feel pretty confident in that. But the vote is important. It's more important in terms of our long-term getting back to building airplanes, delivering good airplanes. And so we've worked really hard to find that overlap where we've got a deal that the employees can feel good about and the company can be successful going forward. So I'm very hopeful for the vote. We'll hear later on tonight.
You've spent some time on the floor. You've talked with some of the machinists. Can you understand some of the venom that they have expressed towards Boeing for the way relations have gone over the last 20, 30, 40 years?
Yeah, there's a lot of history there, and I wasn't a part of a lot of that history, but there's clearly a lot of emotion associated with this. My focus is get everybody looking forward, get them back to work, improve that relationship. I met with the union leadership my first week on the job, and I said we've got to improve the relationship, and I'm committed to do that. And nothing's changed in that regard. So when they're back on the floor, I'll be back on the floor, helping improve that relationship.
You guys are in the process of cutting about 10% of your workforce, roughly 17,000 jobs. That'll happen over the next couple of months. If this strike lingers on, will there have to be even further job cuts?
Well, I think you should separate the job cuts from the work stoppage right now. The realities of our business is we're overstaffed for the forecast of our business going forward. So we need to right size and be efficient, and I think we need to continue to do that as we go forward. Obviously, the later that the strike ends, the more impact that will have in terms of how fast we're able to recover.
You've got the...
All right. Interesting. They overhired. I mean, that's a lot of companies did during the pandemic, but there's more to this. I want to check this one as well.
Silver bullet. This isn't going to be fixed in one fell swoop.
You didn't mention space. You've got two astronauts who are up at...
All right.
You didn't mention space. You've got two astronauts who are up at the space station. Starliner couldn't bring them back. They're going to catch a ride with SpaceX. What do you do when you see... let me ask you, first of all, when you see the two astronauts up there, what's your gut reaction to the fact that you gave them a ride up there, but you couldn't bring them back?
Yeah, my gut reaction is that we've got to improve our systems engineering and our design capabilities so that never happens again. And so that's what we're off doing. Having said that, I was just down at the Space Center, Kennedy Space Center, 2 days ago with our team. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the problems that were identified there with the thrusters and the helium leaks and make the redesign changes that we need to make so that that platform is solid going forward.
Let me ask you about the 737 MAX. Your production is capped right now at 38 a month. You're nowhere close to that. You plan to get there eventually. And I think the question many investors have is, how quickly will you be able to grow production once the FAA says, okay, you've got the processes in place, you've corrected some of the problems that were there?
Well, first things first is we got to get through the strike, and then we got to bring people back online, and we've got to do that right, Phil. I think the important thing is not how fast we do it, it's that we do that right, and we've got training, recertification, work to do. We were approaching the 38 a month rate prior to the strike. So, how long it takes us to train folks and get them back on the floor and being efficient, we'll do that right, and then we'll go from there. We do have a solid quality and safety management plan that we've laid flat with the FAA. That will inform what we'll do in terms of being able to increase production rates. So we're very hopeful we'll be seeing rate increases over the next year.
The 777X, you've pushed off the entry into...
Wish we could get the whole damn interview. Let me see if I can find it. He knew about the helium leaks and the thruster overheating. Interesting.
You didn't...
We've got a lot of issues.
No.
Mentions...
X, go away. I didn't see anything there about selling Starliner. Let's go to that Wall Street Journal article and see. It's by Sharon Turlep here. Boeing explores sale of space business. New CEOs explores options for Starliner. Now, here's the thing, guys. I'm not going to sit here and pull the whole, I don't trust the legacy media. That's That's chasing a boogeyman, and I don't like doing stuff like that. Here's the thing. I would have dismissed this on any other occasion. Like, I would have been like, yeah, okay, sure. But I did notice in Boeing's quarterly earnings report, the one where they said they lost $6 billion, they're like down $6 billion or something. I did notice that I didn't think anything of it at the time, right? Boeing has allocated $250 million to the Starliner program at a loss, I might say, for the potential for basically termination clauses in vendor and supplier contracts, future vendor and supplier contracts. $250 million to terminate supplier contracts. I wouldn't think much of that by itself, and I wouldn't think much of this article by itself. But when the two happen back to back, one day to the other, that's why we're doing the space news. So let's read and let's learn. Oh, they want us to pay. Yeah, nah, yeah, I'm not doing that. All right. Any other sources? Let's not learn. Not with that article, at least.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Are there archived links? Yeah, maybe. Wonder why they don't do. I think the contract terminations were part of it, not the whole 250 mil. Maybe. Tanking the ship to get better numbers next year. I don't know. Here's a Market Watch article here. Let's take a look. Yeah, get off the screen. Boeing is considering the sale of its celebrated space business as it tries to right itself. The Wall Street Journal reported Friday, citing people familiar with the issue. That would include Boeing's Starliner space vehicle, beset by recent problems in operations supporting the International Space Station. Conversations are at early stages and might not result in a deal. Boeing did not immediately return a request for comment from Market Watch. Boeing CEO wants to make Boeing great again. Interesting choice of words. Here's what's standing in the way. Boeing reported mixed third quarter results earlier this week, and shortly after its factory workers in Washington state voted to reject the company's latest offer and continue the strike. Chief Executive Officer Kelly Ortberg took the reins at Boeing in August with a mandate to turn it around after a series of production missteps. Oh, that's what you call that, huh? He told investors on a post-results conference call that, well, it looks like there's a lot of work to do. We have a plan and change is underway. This is a big ship that'll take some time to turn. But when it does, it has the capacity to be great again. Oh, okay. Shares of Boeing lost more than 40% this year. Okay. Oh, Life Pro Chip. Check your local library's websites to see if they give redeem codes for news sites or major ones. Cool. Hey, Cactus Jack. Hear that? Sounds like a high-pitched whistle for some reason. Dude, turn it down a few clicks, please, for the love of God. Dude, I know. I know. It's pain in the butt right now. Get just in here. Can you turn it down a few clicks for me? Just a little bit, man. I'm tired. Streamed 16 and a half hours yesterday. just a few clicks for me, homie. That's all I'm asking. Mercy Street, man. I see what you're saying, but also just I can't even right now. No. I don't know, guys. Like I said, I wouldn't do this space news if, the article came out and said that. And so from what we can tell, it looks like they don't want to sell everything. It looks like they're trying to get rid of Starliner and ISS operations, which is Which kind of begs the next question. Who are they going to sell it to? What does this do to SLS? I haven't heard. Originally, Coltech, like I said, I'm learning with you guys. Originally, I said that it sounds like they want to sell off everything. But every article it just mentions Starliner and ISS operations. So it looks like they're trying to get rid of programs that are untenable. Or at least stuff that they see as untenable. ISS operations is very interesting because ISS has 6 years left on its life cycle, and it's going to get spun off anyway. Which is strange. I'm thinking we'll see closer to 30 or 40,000 layoffs. I don't know. Who would even have the cash to buy it? I don't. Yeah, these are all interesting questions. Like, who would do that? Sierra? Do you think Sierra would buy Starliner? My money is on Blue. If I think any company is poised to buy a human-rated spacecraft, I think Blue would be. I mean, it's textbook Jeff Bezos to get it at a bargain rate like this, right? But here's the thing. Here's what I'm thinking, guys. Why wouldn't Blue just make their own spacecraft? There's whispers that they want to sell Starliner. Oh, Tiff. Yeah, there's whispers. Blue's geographically set up to get most people without them having to move as well. Yeah, that's a good point. Termination contracts for SLS might be so high that Boeing can't afford to terminate them. Well, Tessa, I'm just going to put SLS over there because I've heard nothing about that. It seems like they don't want to get rid of that. R&D shortcut creation, yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Wasn't Blue looking to buy ULA? We don't know if that ever was a thing, Denny. Sierra would have the money is what I was saying. Same with Blue. Not many others would. Interesting, Pete. If Blue does buy it, I think it would only be for the knowledge and the skills of any competent engineers they can parse out, but I doubt they would continue on with Starliner. Right, Josh? Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. The question would be, why would anybody want it? Yeah, exactly, Pete. That's kind of where I'm getting at. Now, keep in mind, this isn't necessarily news. This is just us speculating. Like, I don't know. U.S. government, but not without full rebrand. Has there ever been a piece of hardware like this that's been nationalized? The idea is to sell all of Boeing space except SLS. Starliner and the ISS were just used as examples that many people find familiar. I didn't take it that way, Hellfish. I think that might be a little bit of a stretch, buddy. Sierra had $1 billion in cold hard cash on hand not that long ago. Not sure what they have now, but that's a lot of leverage. $1 billion. Yeah, hell of a down payment, right, Pete? What about SpaceX doubling up their production and facilities? Trenton, even if SpaceX did want to buy Starliner, I would, if I was NASA or the U.S. government, I would not allow that. The whole point of why Starliner and Dragon exist is because of redundant dissimilar suppliers, right? I mean, I guess you could have SpaceX launch Starliner and Dragon, but if SpaceX was going to do that, they would need to launch a capsule that they bought on a rocket that's their competitor. Because both of them can't launch on Falcon 9. That goes against the whole point of Commercial Crew. Once again, redundant dissimilar architecture, so it's safe. You could get to the space station safely. And the big follow-on goal of Commercial Crew, and this is very important to understand, is to have a commercial low Earth orbit market flourish after this with commercial low Earth orbit destinations and enable commercial contractors to do missions like Polaris or like Axiom, stuff like that. Reuters version, let me see. Let's take a look. Heavy redundant architecture owned by the same company. That has happened. That's what ULA did for a long time. But once again, do you want to see that kind of market consolidation? It's not a good. I don't think that's the wisest decision. Let's see. Who wrote this one? It's just by Reuters. Okay. Boeing is exploring the sale of some parts of its space business. See what I mean, Hellfish? The Wall Street Journal reported. This is an article about the article that we already read. Okay, let's see if they have a subscription to the Wall Street Journal. It also may be just a leverage tactic for Boeing to renegotiate the contract. See, look, no one wants it because it loses money. If you want it, we need to renegotiate the contract. Pete? That does jive with what the Burgernator was saying. The Burginator is Chris B. The Burgernator is Eric. Yep. Pete, I think that is probably the most likely thing that's going on. A leverage tactic. Yeah, because firm fixed pricing is... Now, here's the thing, guys. Okay. Point. This is an unpopular opinion, okay? People don't like this. People don't like hearing this. I'm not going to be... I'm just one of this uncomfortable truth that I'm just going to... No, look. For development of programs, for development of spacecraft, cost plus is usually a good idea. I know people are going to be like, oh, right? The reason why is because if you're going to build a spacecraft that you've never built before to do a task that your company has never done before, there's going to be a lot of unknown unknowns. I say it in a very rhetorical way, like, how do you know how much it's going to cost? Funding that on a fixed price, that's why you need cost plus. Now, don't get me wrong, you need deadlines to ensure that the cost plus doesn't spiral out of control. Mobile launcher, I'm looking at you, right? However, I firmly, if you try to fund the development, if you try to flat fund the development on firm fixed pricing, you end up getting something like Starliner. I firmly believe that part of the reason why Starliner has so many problems is because somebody at Boeing said, oh yeah, firm fixed price. Yeah, it's going to cost this much. We know exactly how much it's going to cost. I've crossed every T, I've dotted every I. I've done all the math. I know exactly how much it's going to cost. I know exactly how much it's going to cost. And then because it's an aerospace project, it inevitably goes over budget. Every aerospace project does. I can only think of a few off the top of my head that haven't, right? Everyone goes over budget. And when that inevitably happened, Boeing had to start funding Starliner development to, out of their own pocket, right? Right? Once again, fixed pricing is not a good idea because now Boeing has to pay out of pocket. So now they're, when these growing pains with capsules with any spacecraft or any aerospace thing inevitably happen, now you're basically forcing the company that you locked into this contract to basically hemorrhage cash, which is why they're pissed about it. Now, I know what people are going to say. But SpaceX did it. SpaceX did it on firm fixed pricing, and they did it for cheaper than Boeing. Yeah, that's true. But SpaceX is also backed by venture capital. That's important to understand. SpaceX has the money from NASA for the contract for Commercial Crew. They had it for development, but they also have VC backing, which means that any additional funding that they might need, they don't operate at a loss. They get the venture capital funding. Okay. Boeing, to my knowledge, doesn't really do that. So there's your discrepancy. Now, once again, it worked for SpaceX, but SpaceX has the leeway with their VC funding, okay? They do. SpaceX has all kinds of venture capital behind it, including Google, for what it's worth. Not a lot of people know that. Google is one of the venture capitalists that pump money into SpaceX. You can go look this up if you really want to. So, here's the thing. Cost plus development isn't bad for development of systems. But that needs to happen on a reasonable timeline. Reasonable timelines are, I would say that you can predict a timeline for something, for an aerospace project, more accurately than you can predict cost. Which is why I don't mind cost plus. It's what I always say. Like in certain scenarios, don't get me wrong. If there's no date and you have a cost plus contract, you get something like what's going on with SLS or the mobile launcher, et cetera, et cetera. What you should do is you have to be firm with your development, right? And then after development happens, you offer a fixed price for contracted services. Meaning the development of Starliner shouldn't have been fixed price, but the 6 missions that it's going to fly to the ISS should be. Okay? It was fixed price across the board. And once again, I will die on this hill. Part of the reason why Starliner is having problems is because it inevitably, like every aerospace project, is going to be more expensive than you think it is, because it is impossible to predict how much something is going to cost if you've never done it before. That is entirely impossible to figure out, which is why we have cost plus contracts in the first place. And Boeing had to start funding it out of their own pocket. That incentivizes your contractor to skimp, because they don't have any choice. They can't ask for more money, right? Now, that's not to say that Boeing is the angel here. Absolutely not. No way. No, absolutely not. I'm not trying to advocate for big conglomerates. That is ludicrous, considering what's going on with that company, right? Now, with that all being said, with that all being said, I think fixed pricing is what's putting Starliner in that position. I think that's what's going on. Sorry guys, I'm still kind of gacked from yesterday. I'm not 100% familiar in how it works, but I think Boeing being public will prevent venture capital investment. Yeah, that sounds right, Phil, but I don't know. Cost plus dev tied to fixed price operations also does a good job at setting a major stakeholder expectation. Bingo. Exactly. I should have seen this, Aqualex. In hindsight, it's obviously easy to see. It's just when Commercial Crew was awarded, I didn't know nearly as much about space contracting and how contracts are set up for suppliers as I do now. I guarantee you, though, I would have noticed this if Commercial Crew happened like right now. So, wait a second. You didn't get an Internet Archive link for the Wall Street Journal. Here you go. Oh, word. Thank you. Do you think if Starliner is kaput, Dream Chaser gets expedited next year? No. Thank you, Baron. Let me just scroll up. At the end of the day, Boeing took the deal and rolled the dice. It was their choice as a company. Absolutely, Gob, but, you're setting up companies to fail. NASA is setting up companies to fail by doing stuff like that, by offering fixed price for development. You guys want to know why SLS, one of the reasons why SLS costs so much is because we didn't foot the bill for development. It's SLS, believe it or not, because even though it's a cost plus contract, has been flat funded, basically since 2014. At the beginning of the program, when they didn't need a lot of money, they threw money at them. And then halfway through development, when they needed like 6 times that amount of money, they threw the same amount of money at them. Interesting. Even though SLS is on a cost plus contract, it's been firm fixed price. You can go look at the funding if you really want to. It's been fixed price funding. It's basically just keeping up with inflation, which is literally the worst way to fund development. Interestingly enough, despite SLS being a cost-plus contract. Very weird. How do we reconcile taxpayers footing the bill for a prime contractor failing to scope a project so aggressively bad that the taxpayers have to cough up hundreds of millions or even billions to cover the difference? Deadlines fix that problem. Pete, thanks for the 5 subs, dude. Hey, thanks, man. Let's see what this Wall Street Journal article has to say. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to read it like this. We didn't use Internet Archive. It's fine. Boeing helped put the first men on the moon. Now it wants to get out of the space race. The beleaguered company is exploring sale of its storied NASA businesses, including the Starliner and operations that support the International Space Station, according to people familiar with the matter. The effort, part of a strategy by Boeing's new chief executive officer, Kelly Ortberg, to streamline the company and stem its financial losses, is at an early stage and may not result in a deal. Thanks for the great content, Pete. Now that I work from home, it's great to have you on one monitor while I'm working. Since I watch you more than Hulu, I feel like I should pay. Thanks, man. Can you correct me if I'm wrong, but if I recall correctly, ISS managed it as support, so its support is cost plus. I don't know off the top of my head, Baron, but that sounds right. Boeing faces a deepening financial crisis. It's the largest labor union. We knew about that already. For decades, the company has worked hand in glove on big NASA projects, including the Apollo astronaut missions and creating the space station. Yes, the Apollo astronaut missions. Boeing was the prime contractor on the Saturn V's first stage, the S-1C, and they made 20 of them in the 60s. Boeing also made the external tank for the shuttle program. And then eventually, they didn't engineer the space shuttle, but they ended up merging with the company that did and operated the space shuttle for better part of 2 decades. Just in case anybody wants some context there. In recent years, SpaceX has supplanted Boeing's role as a top agency partner. Okay. What about that whole SLS thing, guys? NASA recently opted to have 2 astronauts wait months for a ride back from the ISS on a SpaceX craft after problems emerged on Starliner's first ever human spaceflight. Yeah, that's right. Boeing is expected to keep its position overseeing the Space Launch System, some of the sources familiar with this said. SLS is a huge rocket that NASA is paying the... Yeah, see what I mean? SLS is a huge rocket that NASA is paying the company to build to start future lunar exploration missions. The rocket successfully completed its first flight for NASA about 2 years ago, though Boeing has faced production challenges and quality control issues with the system. No, they haven't. Nope. That last part is completely wrong, actually. Yeah. Nope. No people that work on it. That's not what's going on. SLS, believe it or not, is not the bottleneck, guys, and Boeing's actually ramping production. The LOX tank for Artemis 3, we saw it get manufactured. We saw the footage from NASA like 2 days ago. They're actually ramping. SLS is not the bottleneck. They could put Artemis 2 together right now. The problem is the capsule on the top has a problem with its heat shield falling off during re-entry. Oops. Probably fix that one. For the people that want technicality, it's not that the heat shield falls off. The Orion spacecraft has a problem with the heat shield not ablating in a way that is understood. Basically, a chunk of it came off. The spacecraft still made it back through re-entry just fine, but enough of it came apart in a way that was not expected that it basically, even though it's hyperbole, saying the heat shield falls off is pretty much the right way to say that. The heat shield delaminated, it ablated in a, not delamination, it ablated in a way that they didn't expect. There was a big chunk missing that shouldn't have been missing. And they don't know why that happened. So, believe it or not, guys, SLS is not the bottleneck. I know people that work on it. It's not the bottleneck. That they could build the Artemis 2 stack right now. So the front fell off. Well, the front of the heat shield. It's been removed from the environment. Don't worry. So, you know, the implication there that they've faced production challenges and quality control issues with it is kind of no, not since the first one flew. It's actually doing pretty good. System actually SLS worked great. Like people that don't like SLS might not like hearing this, but SLS worked flawlessly, as close to as flawlessly as you can get for a first flight of a super heavy launch vehicle. It worked flawlessly. Yeah, it was 99.99 orbital insertion accuracy on a MEO ascent on the first flight with payload. Pretty good. Then there was this. Yeah, that is on the EUS. That's probably what they're referring to, Aqualux. I don't know about you guys, but that the way that was written kind of implies that the whole SLS has problems, right? But yeah, the EUS is a disaster right now. Like that program needs to be shored up. It doesn't seem like, from what I can tell here, that they want to get rid of SLS or EUS contracts, which is good. If they wanted to wholesale SLS in the EUS, I'd be like freaking out right now. I'm kind of freaking out because them selling Starliner is not, that's a big deal if they ever did it. But once again, it goes back to what Pete was saying in chat a second ago. I think they're just, it's a bargaining tactic to get away from fixed pricing so they don't get screwed like this again. I was under the impression that at least Boeing's satellite bus business has been good. Yes, Sirette, I would say that it's been good, except Intelsat 33E exploded the other day, and that's using a Boeing 702 satellite bus. Whoops. Yeah, and that's not the first time that's happened. Yeah, the satellite has like a 15-year lifespan, and it lasted like 5 or something. That's a big problem. Yeah. How old was that sat? Not very old. And Intelsat 29 had a problem as well. That's right, Pete. Yeah, their 702 sat bus seems to have some kind of weird design flaw with it that makes the satellite explode. Lovely. Intelsat 33 was launched in 2016. Yeah, that's not good. Anyway, let's continue. Boeing and its partner Lockheed Martin have also spent more than a year seeking a buyer for their rocket launch venture called United Launch Alliance. It's a 50-50 stake between Boeing and Lockheed. The 50-50 venture operates separately from its parent companies and focuses on U.S. national security launches. It is ramping up flights on a new rocket called Vulcan Centaur that will replace older vehicles. Ortberg, who took over as the Boeing CEO in August, said he is weighing asset sales and looking to jettison problematic programs. Beyond the core commercial and defense businesses, he said, most everything is on the table. Okay, so SLS is a core business, so that's good. All right, cool. This isn't as big of a red flag as I thought it was. It's still a red flag nonetheless. Something like that, Firework, yeah. After seeing the comments on the Artemis spacesuit reveal, I think most people don't really care if SLS did well on its first flight. If it's bad, it's bad. It's government. Josh, you know what I'm thinking, dude? Okay, just pause the article for a second. You know what I'm thinking? Dude, everybody makes a big deal out of the price tag, but I firmly believe that people wouldn't mind this stuff costing as much as it does if it was produced on a timely scale. Do people think that SpaceX, do you think SpaceX is just spending millions of dollars on Starship? No, they're spending billions, probably more than the SLS program, like per year. I mean, the SLS overall has probably sank more money into that program than Starship, but then again, the SLS program predates the Starship program by like a half decade. But okay, let me put it to you like this. Like I've said this, there is some mobile launcher news. Bechtel is actually making some pretty good forward progress on ML2 construction, you know, after getting paid. But you should get paid for your work, but also, I understand that. Would anybody care if the mobile launcher cost $1 billion and it got delivered on time? Would anyone care? I don't know. Would people even be bringing this up? I mean, personally, dude, I wouldn't care. I'm biased as a spaceflight fan, though. You know, like people that don't like it, you know, probably would, but also, as long as it worked, I don't think people care. I think that's where people's angst is coming from, with why they don't like NASA's government space program, right? I don't think it has to do with the cost. I think it very much has to do with not doing anything with all that money, right? As long as it works as needed, right? We've been burned by so many canceled programs. That's what makes people worry. It looks like a money dump with no returns. Exactly. 30-minute warning. Thank you, Enoch. Yep. Right? So let me finish up this article. I'm kind of just curious. And then, yeah, I got to get going for Flame Trench. I don't know if these guys want to discuss this. They probably don't. But that's why I wanted to talk with you guys about it. Ortberg took over as the CEO. Okay. We're better off doing less and doing it better than doing more and not doing it well. Yep. Ron Swanson said, never half-ass two things. Whole-ass one thing. He's right. What do we want this company to look like in 5 years and 10 years from now? And do these things add value to the company or distract us? Ortberg fired the head of Boeing Defense and Space in September. He did, which I kind of agree with. The space business is a small part of that unit, which makes jet fighters and helicopters for the Pentagon, and had a $3.1 billion loss on an $18.5 billion revenue in the first 9 months of 2024. How do you lose money with defense contracts, man? That's impressive. I'm not even mad. That's it. How do you do that? How do you do that? How do you do that? You have $18.5 billion in revenue and you lost from Uncle Sam with defense contracts and you lose money? What the hell's the matter with you? How's that? Dude, that takes a special kind of skill. Holy crap. I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was that bad. That's ridiculous. How is that possible? How do you lose money when they give you a blank check? That's freaking impressive, dude. Okay, all right, here we go. Let's continue. I know about the KC-46. Yeah. WISP, I know. Yeah, okay. It was mostly from their firm fixed price programs. Really, Phil? I don't know how the defense contracts, I don't know the contract structure for any of those, to be honest with you. I only know the space stuff. But, interesting. Before Ortberg joined, Boeing held discussions with Blue Origin, the same company owned by billionaire Jeff Bezos, about taking over some of the NASA programs. People familiar with these discussions said, Great sentence. Blue Origin has been preparing its own rockets for future NASA and commercial missions and to compete with SpaceX. Both the Starliner program and Boeing's work for the ISS face uncertainty, whether the company ultimately sells them or not. NASA wants to deorbit the space station around 2030. How can you say they face uncertainty and say when the program is going to end conclusively and mention a date in the next sentence? Can I read that sentence one more time? Both the Starliner program and Boeing's work for the ISS face uncertainty, whether the company ultimately sells them. NASA wants to deorbit the space station around 2030. How can you say it faces uncertainty and in the next sentence say certainly when the space station is going to deorbit? Sorry. Splitting hairs. Last month, meanwhile, the agency said it was still analyzing next steps for Starliner, including how the vehicle would secure a NASA stamp of approval to begin regular astronaut missions. Yeah, Boeing's got a real problem there. They might need to fly Starliner again for a certification to fix the thruster block problems. Problem is, Starliner is supposed to fly on Atlas V, a rocket that's being phased out. There is only enough Atlas Vs left to launch Starliner 6 times. Guess how many missions NASA has contracted Boeing to launch to the ISS? 6 of them. So what happens now? See what I mean? Like, once again, the fixed pricing is screwing them pretty bad. Now, once again, I'm not going to say that Boeing is not completely at fault here. That would be ludicrous. But also, I want to point out that this is kind of a perfect storm, and firm fixed pricing on contracts has a lot to do with why Starliner is screwing up so bad and why they're in a crappy position that they're in right now. That's a very, very important thing to understand. Because the caps will be adapted to fly on Vulcan. You'd have to go through a certification process again, Creation, and by the time that certification process finishes, the ISS might not exist. Human rating, certifying a vehicle to fly with people on board takes time. And even if they did expedite it and got it fast, they got it done fast, right? You're going to certify it to fly on Vulcan for a guaranteed contract to go to the station maybe once, maybe twice. Is it worth it for ULA to put all the time in? Is it worth it for Boeing to pay ULA to go through all those analytics? I'm not sure. It's an interesting question to ask, right? Agency officials for years have hoped to have Starliner available to transport astronauts to and from the space station, giving NASA a second U.S. vehicle beyond Dragon. And that's the end of the article. It's a weird way to end it. What about future commercial space stations? Yeah, but that's not guaranteed income hired. Yeah, that's a good point. Commercial low Earth orbit. And remember how I said that's really important to fund that right now? So contractors have certainty so you can keep the commercial low Earth orbit economy going and not have it collapse in on itself and consolidate before the ISS even deorbits. Remember how I said that the other day? Yeah, that's weird. It's very strange. Interesting, Oculus. Well, yeah. All right, hold on. Might not be worth it for Boeing, but Lockheed Martin having access to a human-rated rocket for Lockheed, absolutely. Look what SpaceX accomplished with like 25% of NASA's budget. This trend of overpriced government contracts must end. Yeah, Louiso, but see, here's the thing, dude. SpaceX didn't. They have firm fixed price for Dragon. I went over this a little bit earlier. Dude, that's an illusion. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that SpaceX is bad at spending the money that they are allocated from Uncle Sam. No, they make that money count, and that's what people care about, and that's why a lot of people like SpaceX. And that's why they say they should just do everything. However, it's important to understand that SpaceX did underbid on the commercial crew. They underbid on HLS as well because venture capital, their venture capital backers can supplement the cost. They basically, the VCs basically handle the cost plus part. You know what I'm saying? So that's not exactly true. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that SpaceX doesn't efficiently spend the money that they're given. They do. Yeah, it's definitely seemingly cheaper. But if you're funding a publicly traded company which can't rely on VC on a fixed price, you're setting them up to fail miserably. Even if it is a big guy like Boeing. Just something to take into account, you know? Once again, I ain't saying Boeing's an angel here. They're absolutely not. You need to fix this. This is dude, this should have never allowed to even happen. How did it get this bad? I mean, we all know the answer to that question, but I don't know what the solution is, but they need to fix Boeing companies like Boeing and Lockheed who are critical to the United States. Pete, how about we VC start up a 737 competitor? I was thinking about that the other day. How about we just do that? Just putting it out there. Agree, Edgar? Yeah, cool. Also, they paid for Dragon via Axiom Inspiration and Polaris. I mean, Axiom hasn't paid up, Andrew, which is hilarious. Yeah, that's right. Axiom hasn't paid for any of those missions. Yeah, they're not profitable. another huge glaring issue, considering they're your prime contractor on your commercial successor to the ISS. But they made a nice spacesuit with Prada. You couldn't do worse than Boeing. Just saying. Just saying. A SpaceX style company that's basically hell bent on making jets might not be the worst idea. Oh, emergency! What's going on? Boeing. I gotta get going for Flame Trench, guys. But yeah, the gist of this is that Boeing is looking to sell Starliner and their ISS operations programs as an effort to fix the colossal frick up that is that company. Yep. Airbus, yeah, right. Yeah, that's why I did an emergency space news. I'm not 100% sure if they want to discuss this on Flame Trench, which is why I did this. But I do have to go. They are pinging me over there. I have to get going. I honestly think Axiom might bid on the ISS. Maybe. Best case, they offload Starliner's Blue, picking it up and using it as a springboard to develop their own orbital man capsule. I think if they do sell it, Siret, that's probably what would happen. Yeah, there you go, program. Maybe we should. All right, so I'm going to see you guys over on the Flame Trench. Maybe we'll discuss this more. Who knows? There's already a lot to talk about with the booster static fire, Raptor engines being tortured on the SpaceX test stands, etc., etc. So I will see you over there. If you're watching on Twitch, you don't need to go anywhere. Just give me about 20 minutes here to get everything situated, and it will be restreamed on Twitch. If you're on the YouTube side of things, I'm pointing at the YouTube chat, like you guys can see that. You know, that's how that works. Right? I will give you the link to the upcoming Flame Trench stream here. I'm posting that over there now. So, once again, title card's coming up. The stream's going to be dead aired for a little bit. And I will see you guys in about 20 for Flame Trench. Thank you very much for watching. Over on the YouTube side of things, I'll see you guys on Monday. On Twitch, don't go anywhere. Still got plenty of stream left. And thank you.